Good morning, California. My name is Eloy Ortiz Oakley, and I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of College Futures Foundation. Thank you all for joining us for the 2025 State of the Learner Address. Today, we're talking about the working learners here in California that are shaping our future, and how to build systems that truly support them and their needs. In partnership with Gallup, we surveyed and interviewed a diverse set of Californians across the state. Diversity across age group, income level, education experience, and region. We interviewed Californians who are currently enrolled in higher education, those who had to stop out for a myriad of reasons, and those who never enrolled in the first place. They never saw higher education pathway as a pathway for them. They all shared something very powerful with us, a belief in the value of education, and a clear-eyed and honest viewpoint about what is broken. More than 9 in 10 Californians that were surveyed without a degree say that a credential has value. They're not debating whether or not education is worth it. But they are asking questions. They're asking, is the learning flexible? Is it accessible to them? Is it relevant to their job opportunities, the opportunities that they're seeking? And is it affordable? And so we think about, why do Californians enroll in college in the first place? Well, the answer remains clear. Economic mobility. They are seeking a bridge to a better economic future for themselves, for their families, and for generations to come. A majority of learners, both enrolled and stopped out, say that they enrolled for future job opportunities. That should be no surprise to any of us. That aspiration, that promise should ground us in the work that we're doing today. Higher education should be a bridge to a better job, to greater financial security, and to a more stable future, particularly now in this economy. Systems today, they're still designed for a student that was part of higher education 30, 40 years ago. It's not designed around the needs of learners today. Consider California community college students. More than half of them are 25 years or older. They're parents, they're caregivers, they're working 2 and 3 jobs, juggling life's challenges and all the things that are happening around them in today's economy. And they're trying to navigate that in order to complete their higher education. That was certainly my story. Growing up in a working class community in Southeast Los Angeles, I didn't go to college right out of high school. Instead, I chose to enlist in the United States Army. And I served proudly. But along the way, I became a parent. I started to raise a family. When I came out of the military, I worked for several years. And it wasn't until 7 years after graduating high school that I stepped foot on a college campus. For me, it was a California community college, Golden West College. There, I had to navigate challenges that I never knew existed. I had to balance life, family, work, trying to make it all come together so that I can have a better economic future for myself or for my family. Fast forward to today, nothing much has changed. That was more than 30 years ago. And much of the design around higher education is still the same today. It's shaped around learners that are no longer the traditional learner here in California. So let's be honest. Right now, many students, far too many students, are paying the price for that poor design. They're paying the price in terms of the cost of the education that we're providing them, in terms of having to sacrifice work, being worried about losing wages because employers don't honor their educational journeys, and about the sacrifices that they have to make, the time that they have to take away from their family. So more than a third of students that we surveyed have considered stopping out in the past 6 months. Think about that. They are working through this whole calculus in their mind as we speak, worried about whether or not they can continue their education. And that number jumps even higher for full-time workers and for caregivers. Learners have told us that they're living through a myriad of stresses. They're living through worrying about lost wages. They're worrying about the challenges in today's economies, the impact that AI is having on the workforce, the challenges of federal and state policies that make it harder and harder for them to complete their higher education. The currents that are pulling learners underwater today, they're all man-made. We, as educators and as policymakers, have created them. They are the product of choices that we've made over the last several decades about how education is delivered, how it's structured, who it serves, and more importantly, who it doesn't serve. And so, because these are choices that we've made over time, they can be remade, they can be reimagined and redesigned with the learner at the center of that design. That's our responsibility, and that remains within our power. If we fail to act, what happens? Well, we risk losing California's treasured middle class. If we fail to act or do anything differently, then the California dream will become a story of the past, not a promise for the future. So what do we need to do? We need to listen. We need to listen to learners, what they're experiencing, what they need, and what kind of agency we should be giving them. And then we need to act. We need to build systems that reflect today's learners and today's economy, not yesterday's assumptions, not around the designs of the 1950s and the 1960s, today's realities. We need flexible course delivery systems. We need shorter and stackable credentials. We need credit mobility. Think about it. A learner in Northern California takes an entry-level course at a college or a university. In most cases, those credits don't transfer to a college or a university in Southern California. That is unacceptable. We need clearer links and more transparency between programs of study and job outcomes. We need support services that are designed and built around real-life circumstances. And we need financing models that support the flexibility that our learners need, and we need to build and create more value in more places for more learners across California. So, what else do we see in this survey? We see hope. Given that backdrop, we do see hope in what learners are telling us. 9 in 10 currently enrolled students say that they are confident that they will finish their education. That includes 8 in 10 learners who have thought about stopping out. They all believe that they can finish their education. So learners haven't given up on themselves, and we cannot give up on them. So we need to dare to think differently. We need to act in ways that we haven't before. We need to support courageous leaders, innovators, and advocates who won't accept the old excuses nor the status quo. The time for incremental change is over, folks. So, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you about ideas that you have. We want to be in conversation with all of you, hear examples about courageous leadership and the kinds of changes that we need to see in order to improve the state of the learner here in California. So check out the 2025 State of the California Learner Report on our website. Get into conversation with us. Drop us a note here on social media. Reach out to us in the future, because together we can create a system that learners deserve and that rebuilds the California dream for everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. Now, some of you have already dropped some questions, and I want to take a moment to answer a couple of them that I thought were particularly interesting. So let's start with this question. Why does College Futures choose to focus on working learners? and not others? Why them? Why now? Well, first, working learners are a segment of the population here in California that we have not intentionally designed for. And they are becoming the traditional students. They have become the traditional students. More than half of the students enrolled currently are working learners. And that doesn't even take into account all the learners who have not been able to access our systems of higher education. And in order for our state, our communities, our neighborhoods to be successful, we need to reach these working learners. We need to give them an opportunity to upskill and to reskill over their lifetime, to be able to compete in today's economy, to be able to withstand the changes that AI is bringing to the workforce, to be able to withstand all the chaos that's being created around them at the federal level, at the state level. We need to reach out to them. We need to have a comprehensive plan that addresses their needs. While I'm a huge fan of the California Higher Education Master Plan, it does not have a specific component focused on working learners. I applaud Governor Gavin Newsom for coming up with a career education master plan that tries to address this, but we need to be very intentional. So why now? Now because our communities are suffering. The California dream is fading for many families, and we need to address that. We need to give them access to quality education. We need to create more on-ramps to a quality education, not less. So that's the why now. We need to think differently, and we need to act urgently in order for Californians of all backgrounds to have an opportunity to actually live into the California dream. The next question I'd like to take on is a fun one. So the question is, 10 years from now, what will learning for adult learners look like if we get this right? Well, I hope to be around 10 years from now, but assuming things continue to move forward, what I see 10 years from now is more personalized systems of higher education for learners across all backgrounds. Think about it. Right now, the brick and mortar methods of preparing learners for the future economy is very much siloed into one type of learner. We show up to classes at the time that our administrators and faculty decide for us that we need to take. We're told that the longer we sit in those seats, the more credit we will obtain. And we're asked to continue to go through a series of courses that have very little transparency as to why we're taking them. In the future, if we get this right, learners will feel the impact of their learning in real time. They will see the impacts of what they're learning on their life goals, on their economic future, on the jobs that they're trying to pursue. And that learning will be tailored to where they're at in that specific moment in life. Whether they're an 18-year-old or a 64-year-old trying to reskill and get into another career, learning will be designed around them and meet them where they're at. We will also have better financing systems. Right now, if you think about the financial aid system in California at the federal level, it is designed around a very narrow kind of learner, an 18 to 24-year-old going full-time in a college course. We need to redesign that so that learners can access learning and be able to finance learning when they need it, how they need it. That will improve our economy. That will continue to allow us to grow as a state and continue to prosper. If we get this right, then learners of every background, regarding of where they're at with their learning abilities, where they're at in their life circumstances, where they're at in their family circumstances, will be able to access quality learning, and it will be owned by them. It will not be owned by the institutions. They will carry that learning with them and be able to use it to connect with employers, to connect with their life goals. So that's the future I'm hoping for. That's the future I hope to work with all of you and our team here at College Futures to make happen. But it will not happen without all of your support, without everybody leaning into this issue now. Bringing up issues, forcing policymakers and educators to rethink and reimagine our learning so that we can rebuild and support the California dream for everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Again, please check out our website, collegefutures.org, and we look forward to continuing this conversation with you into the future.